Hey, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. My name is Salvador Briggman, and on this channel, we love to talk about crowdfunding. We talk about subscription-based crowdfunding on websites like Patreon. We also talk about other crowdfunding websites that are out there like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, etc. And in today's YouTube video, we are getting into the top Patreon creators, the people out there that are earning the most when it comes to doing their Patreon campaigns on a recurring basis. We're getting into that topic today. And if you've already been watching some of my other videos and you enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up because it helps the YouTube algorithm. In addition, if you're new to this channel, make sure you stick around until the end of today's video because I got an incredible resource, particularly if you want to start or grow your own Patreon campaign that I'm going to be sharing with you, and that is also free. So make sure you stick around until the end of the video. Without further ado, let's get to the crux of this video and let's get down to the brass tacks. Let's learn about some of the top Patreon creators that are out there, and it's coming up right after this. So again, my name is Salvador Briggman. I love to put out videos about crowdfunding and subscription-based crowdfunding on this channel, and Patreon is obviously a subscription-based crowdfunding website. And we're actually using a tool today, and actually know the creator as well of this tool. We've had some dialogue over the years. He's a super cool guy, the founder of Graphtreon. So Graphtreon is actually an analytical tool which you can use to analyze different projects that are on Patreon. So there are different kinds of things. So first of all, I'm going to introduce you to this tool, very quickly go over it from a very high-level perspective in terms of how you use this and how you can make use of this in order to really improve your own Patreon campaign. Second thing we'll get into is some more real-world examples, and then last we'll cap off with a little bit of advice in terms of actually growing your Patreon campaign. So first of all, what I'd like to draw your attention to is that with this tool, you can search by month, by 3 months, by year, and it's really going to show you some of the top Patreon creators. So this is very useful if you're just trying to get a sense of like the earning potential that's out there when it comes to subscription crowdfunding, when it comes to Patreon, and it is massive, right? Just looking at some of the top campaigns that are right now listed here by Graphtreon, we have True Crime Obsessed at 45,000 plus patrons currently on that. Also the Tom Dillon Show, we got Maintenance Phase, Chapo Trap House, Dank Pods, and you can also see underneath is what they're actually creating. So they're creating podcasts, they're creating another podcast, they're creating videos, etc., hotcasts. You can see and learn a little bit more about this. In addition, if you actually click the link, I already brought this up because it slows up my browser every time I do a video like this for you guys. You can see a little bit more information when it comes to the actual campaign. So this is over the period of the last 30 days. You can see some information here. So the estimated earnings is that this actual campaign is running and earning about $133,000 to $330,000 per month. And that's obviously just an estimate, but it's based on the number of patrons and also some of the other data that this website collects. The thing that I liked here as well is that you can really get a sense of in terms of near-term focus and also long-term focus. So this is actually an incredibly important point, and I do talk about this a lot on my channel, which is that as you're growing your community, your monetization opportunity also exponentially grows. So like as they're growing their community, you can see how their Patreon is taking off like a freaking rocket, right? And then it has a little bit more of a logarithmic growth curve and it's kind of leveling out here. Maybe they decide to launch other stuff. Maybe they don't focus on it as much. Maybe they don't promote it as much, or their community is a little bit more stagnant. You can look at that on your own time. In addition, they have information when it comes to the daily information there. So you have some of their estimates there. Number of patrons, 45,000 plus. Number one across all Patreon podcasts and also across creators. And they also have some stats and information as it relates to their Twitter. So their Twitter has been steadily growing over time. I'm going to give you one other quick example, and then I want to actually dive into some other different views. Another is the Tom Dillon Show. So this is again kind of like a logarithmic trend over the last 2 years. It's been growing, it's been growing, it's been growing. And it's been a little bit more leveling off more recently. But I would say that, again, that's a very kind of classic curve that we tend to see with Patreon. They are doing a $210,000 per month plus based on these estimates, as well as around 40,000 plus patrons, and currently in number 2 and also number 2 in the podcast ranking. So I'm not going to belabor the point here. I'll let you guys look through these stats if you want to on your own time. The only other one I thought was actually kind of interesting that I wanted to pull up was Dank Pods. And these are actually a video style. They're producing videos on a monthly basis, etc. And they're actually the first in the video rankings, 5th on Patreon overall. They're doing $36,000 a month, 34,000 plus patrons. And look at this trend. This is so interesting to me. They're really also having this logarithmic trend, but I think there's also a ton of opportunity for growth here. This is something that we also notice like with the cold ones here, right? We're seeing how there's kind of peaks and valleys, how sometimes there's growth and sometimes there's not. So don't freak out if your community just isn't as good a couple of months. You can always grow this over time. And sometimes if you get your promotion right, you'll have this massive spike, which you see, right? And I talk about different ways to promote your Patreon here. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The top campaigns use this trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfill Right today. Link in the description. So going back, I actually want to show you a couple of different things, and then we're going to get a little bit more into some advice and tips. So in terms of other top Patreon creators, it's really about the category. Okay, I'm going to say that again. It's about the category. It's not about overall, okay? It doesn't matter if you're the #1 overall on the website. What's more important is actually to study the category which you are in. So you can see the top 50, then you should definitely take a second to toggle and look through some of these different categories. So these are top Patreon creators, and you can, filter this by games, by video, by music. Obviously they have adult entertainment categories and stuff like that. They also have writing, photography, dance and theater, finance even, cosplay, animation. Really take a second as one item to take away from this video. Go and look at your category, because that's really what you want to benchmark yourself against. If you're trying to, for example, get into writing, it makes no sense to benchmark yourself against a video Patreon podcast campaign, right? You really want to benchmark yourself against other style campaigns that are very similar to yours. So if you're trying to do web novels or a web serial, or you're creating fiction, right? These different things. I mean, these guys are making $13,000 plus for writing short stories, for creating fiction. How cool is that? That's exciting, man. There's so much freaking opportunity here. The other thing that I want to introduce you to is this other filter, which is top growing Patreon creators. Now, why would you care about this, right? Who cares who's growing on Patreon? Well, the reason is that it actually really is a great indicator of the different types of niches right now, which are seeing growth and that are actually trending. So for example, if you've been thinking about maybe using Patreon to create software, and this is obviously not safe for work software, and I have to be careful with that on YouTube, or there's like chill out VR, right? These are very new concepts and things that sometimes you might not even see someone who's like a top creator doing what you're doing, but you could look at this and you'd be like, oh, okay, this person is making this, right? They're making swag, or this person is doing something else, right? You can actually look at this and you can get a sense they're creating documentaries. They're making $2,000 a month plus, doing documentaries. You can use this as inspiration. You can use this to create ideas, and also to put your fingers on the pulse with what right now is growing, okay, when it comes to Patreon. The other quick view that I really want to introduce you to, and you can see this and more at a lot of these this navigation bars, like month, growth, etc. You can go through certain creators, you can do advanced filtering, you can look at stats, you can even look at some of the other data services, etc. Looking at this tool. But the other would be the top earners. And sometimes people who have the most actual patrons don't necessarily are the ones that are actually earning the most. It's also people who have good business strategy. So you can look, for example, if you want to look more into independent English language journalism in Ukraine. I mean, how off the wall, how offbeat, but like actually really freaking cool is that, right? And these people are earning $61,000 per month. So one other quick takeaway I would do is, in addition to looking at the more granular filter views here, I would also look at the actual Patreon campaign and get a sense of what they're offering. So tip number 1, like I mentioned, was to look at the ones that are growing. Tip number 2 is study, almost as though you're studying success, right? You're studying success, you're studying creators, you're studying what works. Go and look at the actual Patreon campaign of these guys, see what kind of reward tiers they have, see if they're doing any kind of promotion on their social media. And this is what I call doing an audit, where you're basically looking at their social media, you're looking at their website, how are they promoting their Patreon? What are they doing, right? In order to get people excited. And man, I talk so much about this, and this is throwing up my browser right here. I talk so much about this in my free course, where I go step by step through how to grow your Patreon, how to actually get more patrons, talk about different techniques that you can use in order to do that, as well as some stuff you might not know that I've actually discovered from talking with some of the top incredible people out there when it comes to crowdfunding. So I also have a great podcast as well, more so on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and those kinds of things. But if you really want to access this and you want to kind of learn along the way, you can go and check out my free course. I'll include a link down below. Also got some other great content as well on YouTube. But I would say that, first of all, I wanted to introduce you to this tool. I wanted to show you some of the top creators that are earning, some of the potential there, filtering it by the different categories. So you've already taken that away. But don't just sit on this knowledge. Don't just sit on this information. Really try to take action. Take that next step and actually look more into this, right? Look at the different creators. Look at their different websites. Look at their different campaigns. Because this, to me, shows that success is possible, right? And if nothing else, I'm going to be putting out some more videos as well on some tips and tactics as it relates to subscription-based crowdfunding. So make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and give me a thumbs up if you did like this video. And if you like the way I kind of walk through the tutorial and try to make this no nonsense for you, would appreciate that so much. But that being said, I don't want to make this video too long. Thank you so much for tuning in to this class. Really appreciate it. And I will see you next time.